Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are looking at two of the absolute heavyweights in human history, Vedanta and Buddhism. And it's actually wild to think about, but these ancient philosophical giants, which predate modern psychology by, over 2,000 years, they were designed to solve the exact same problems you and I face today. We're talking daily stress, anxiety, the sheer weight of the human condition. They both offer a way out, but as you'll see, they walk us down some incredibly different paths to get there.
So let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at the shared path to liberation. Second, the core differences regarding the soul and reality. And third, we'll wrap up with the Bhagavad Gita's synthesis.
Right out of the gate, both Vedanta and Buddhism start from the exact same premise. They look at human life and agree, yep, we're all trapped in a cycle of suffering. The ancient term is dukkha. And the root cause of all this suffering? It's ignorance, plain and simple. Human ignorance is this ultimate bondage, and we absolutely have to break free from it if we ever want to find lasting peace. That's the main goal they both share.
Moving on to Section 1, the shared path to liberation.
Now, if you looked at how they actually tell us to live, the alignment is striking. They are walking hand in hand here. Both traditions firmly believe in karma, that our actions have real consequences. Both accept rebirth. They both hammer home that deep meditation is absolutely essential, and that we have to cultivate a massive amount of compassion for others. Most importantly, they both insist that to be truly free, we've got to overcome our ego and drop our attachment to all those fleeting sensory pleasures.
But here is where things start to get really fascinating. While they both say, yes, rebirth happens, they completely disagree on what is actually getting reborn. Vedanta says a subtle body, basically your mind, your intellect, and your ego, travels from one life to the next. Buddhism, though? No subtle body. They say it's just a stream of karmic impressions. Think of it like a wave of energy passing through water, just pushing forward. This is the very first real crack in their agreement.
Which brings us to Section 2, Core Differences, Soul and Reality. Let's see how this builds.
Okay, if the whole subtle body thing was just a crack in the foundation, we're about to hit the major plot twist. This is where their ultimate views of reality completely diverge. Vedanta proclaims Brahman Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Basically, there's one ultimate, unchanging truth, Brahman. In the physical world we experience every day, that's just a changing, transient illusion, or mithya. Now ping-pong over to Buddhism. They see the world as shunya, or emptiness. But wait, that doesn't mean nothingness. It means everything is transient, everything relies on causes and conditions, and literally nothing has an independent, permanent existence on its own.
Naturally, this totally flips how they view a creator. Vedanta leans all the way in on a supreme, singular creator. That one Brahman is the source that creates, sustains, and eventually dissolves the entire universe. Buddhism? They completely reject that. For them, there's no eternal creator God anywhere in the mix. Everything simply arises and falls based purely on natural causes and conditions.
To really cement Vedanta's view here, listen to this quote from the Bhagavad Gita. I am the cause of all. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. It perfectly captures that core Vedantic idea that a single divine source is responsible for literally everything. All of existence flows directly from it. So, what does this all mean for you and me? How do we answer the big ultimate question of existence? Vedanta asks, who am I? And confidently answers, I am Brahman. I am that eternal truth. Buddhism comes at it from a totally different angle, asking, is there even a permanent I to begin with? And their answer is a hard no. You're just a karmic stream. It's literally a definitive yes versus a definitive no on whether or not we have a permanent self.
Let's unpack Vedanta's definitive yes for a second. They call this permanent self the Atman. It's eternal, it's pure, it's free. They use the word Satchidananda, which means truth, consciousness, and bliss. Think of it like a giant, deep, unchanging ocean. No matter how crazy the storms get on the surface of your life, the depths down below, they remain perfectly still and completely permanent.
On the flip side, let's look at Buddhism's definitive no. If there isn't a permanent soul, well, what are we? Buddhism breaks us down into 5 skandhas, or aggregates. You've got physical form, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Notice a theme there? Not a single one of those is permanent. So instead of that still ocean, Buddhism says the I is really just a flowing, ever-changing river made up of these temporary elements, just constantly shifting moment to moment.
And the differences just stack up from there. Vedanta uses a super complex 24-element system pulled from ancient Sankhya philosophy to explain our physical and mental makeup. We're talking the five senses, the mind, the ego, the works. Buddhism takes one look at that 24-element system and just tosses it out entirely, relying solely on those five ever-shifting skandhas to explain the whole human experience.
All right, let's move on to Section 3, the Bhagavad Gita's synthesis.
So we're left with this immense philosophical tension, right? An eternal soul versus no soul. A supreme creator versus dependent origination. How on earth do we reconcile this? Well, the Bhagavad Gita steps in and brings us right back to that shared ethical path. The Gita vigorously advocates for abandoning the ego, keeping total equanimity whether you're experiencing joy or sorrow, practicing strict detachment, diving into deep meditation, and cultivating universal compassion. So when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of living a good, liberated life, the Gita is totally aligned with Buddhist ethics.
But, and this is a big but, what happens when the Gita shifts from ethics to reality? It drops this line, the soul neither takes birth nor dies. With that one sentence, the Gita firmly and unapologetically plants its flag right in Vedanta's camp. When it comes down to the ultimate, eternal nature of the soul, the Gita says absolutely yes, it exists and it is permanent.
Ultimately, the Gita is asking us to realize that our true self isn't our changing body or our constantly shifting thoughts. We're meant to recognize the divine as the knower of the field, the kshetrajnana. Basically, your true self is just the divine observer, the Paramatma, the eternal Brahman that sits back and watches the physical world unfold.
Now, this synthesis actually sparks a really fascinating debate among modern scholars. They often ask, are shunya, which is Buddhism's emptiness, and Brahman, Vedanta's ultimate reality, actually just two different words trying to describe the exact same ultimate truth? Are these two traditions just looking at the exact same mountain from two different sides?
Well, the great 8th century philosopher Shankaracharya certainly didn't think so. He delivered what you could basically call a philosophical mic drop against the Buddhist concept of emptiness. He asked, if everything is void, who has the knowledge? Who is the knower and the witness? Think about it. If we are just a shifting river of temporary parts, who is actually standing on the bank experiencing the river?
And Vedanta provides a totally definitive answer to Shankaracharya's challenge. There has to be a witness. This witness is the self-luminous, self-illuminating eternal soul. It's the permanent consciousness that just quietly observes the temporary reality playing out all around us.
So, looking at the big picture, you can really see the genius of the Gita's method here. First, it uses the language of changing elements, the body, mind, intellect, to perfectly explain our physical, temporary reality, which is very much like how Buddhism acknowledges the shifting elements of life. But step 2 is where it anchors us. It invariably reaches Vedanta's conclusion. Underneath all that shifting physical reality, the soul is unattached. It's the non-doer. It is Brahman.
Which brings us to our final summary of this brilliant philosophical fork in the road. On one side, you have Vedanta, boldly declaring that you possess an eternal, unchanging soul that is one with the ultimate reality, Brahman. On the exact opposite side, you have Buddhism, declaring that there is no permanent soul, and that everything in you and around you is beautifully transient, flowing, and completely interdependent.
So, I'll leave you with this thought to ponder. Their ultimate metaphysical destinations clearly differ, right? One points to a permanent truth, the other to transient emptiness. But looking at our own fast-paced modern lives, can walking their remarkably shared ethical path, practicing compassion, meditating, letting go of the ego, can that still free us from our daily suffering right here, right now? Let us know what you think. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll catch you in the next Explain It.